Hello and welcome to another exam paper walkthrough. We're going back in time a little bit today and we're looking at the Summer 17 series. Past papers are, in my opinion, the best form of revision for an upcoming exam series. They give you the opportunity to experience the style of questions, and actual ones that have gone through a full round of students sitting them are particularly excellent revision. So I'd strongly recommend this ahead of any exam series, whatever year we're looking at, provided it's the same spec. So this is for the Edexcel Foundation Paper 1. Okay, so there is a link in the information to this video that gives you where you can actually get a copy of this paper from. If you've not already got a copy, I would strongly recommend you've either done the paper or do it alongside the video to prove as the best revision aid. Stick some music on in the background. I've got some music on an ear pod just to help me, rather than just listening to my voice. You might find it useful to have some music on in the background, not overpowering, but just in the background. Okay, we shall make a start. Okay, question 1. Work out the value of 2 to the power 4. Well, 2 to the power 4 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16, so it's 16. Question 2. Write 7.26451 correct to 2 decimal places. Well, sorry, 3 decimal places. That's the third decimal number. The number behind it is a 5, so we're going to round it up. So that's going to become 7.265. Question 3. Simplify 7 times E times F times 8. Well, 7 times 8 is going to be 56. And then we can take out the multiplication sign, so it's EF. It could have 56FE as well. And then finally, question part B, solve. So we're going to times both sides by 5. So that's going to be x is equal to 2.5 times by 5 is going to be 12.5, or 12.5. So I'm going to leave it as 12.5 because there's a fraction in the question. So I'm going to leave a fraction in my answer, but 12.5 would be absolutely fine too. Question 4, write 4/5 as a percentage. Well, that's going to be 4/5 is the same as 8 out of 10. So that's going to be, or 80 out of 100. So as a percentage, that's going to be 80%. Question 5, work out 60% of 70. You can do this a lot of different ways. So in effect, really what we're doing is 60 out of 100 times by 70. And then if you imagine bringing that over, we can cancel 0 and cancel another 0. So it's going to be 6 times by 7 is 42. Question 6 then. So on a probability scale, mark of across the probability that the spinner will land on a B. Well, half of the options are B, so it's going to just be a half. And then part I, on the probability scale, mark of across the probability that the spinner will land on an F. Well, we've got no F in our spinner, so there's 0 chance. Question 7. So F buys 2 packets of bread rolls, $1.50 each. So 1 bottle of ketchup, $1.60, and 3 packets of sausages. F says, pays with a £10 note. She gets 30 pence change. Works out the price of 1 packet to be £2.30. Are they right? You must show how you got your answer. So I want to work out what 2 times by £1.50 is going to be, and to that I need to add £1.60. And then I'm also going to add on the 30 pence. Well, I'm going to say that I've got 3 lots of the sausages, which I'll call X for now, and then plus 30 pence, or plus 0.3, and that's going to be equal to £10. So that's going to be 3. So I'm going to do, let's do it this way, 3 plus, add those 2 together would be £1.90. Plus 3 lots of the sausages, and that's going to be equal to 10. So £4.90 plus 3 lots of this value is going to be equal to 10. Minus £4.90 from both sides. 3 lots of the sausages equals £5.10. So I divide both sides by 3. And I'll do that division over here. 3 divided by £5.10 carry my decimal, point up, 3 goes into 5 fully once with 2 left over, and then 3 goes into 21 7 times. So the price of the sausages is going to be £1.70. So is she correct? No. They cost £1.70 each. There are other ways you could have done it. That just is the clearest way in my mind. We could have also said, instead of bringing algebra in, we could have said, could it be £2.30? And we could have put £2.30 in here and shown that it didn't add up to 10. That's another method that would work absolutely fine. Okay, question 8. We've got a bit of fractions, so work out. So I always simplify before I multiply, but there's nothing wrong with simplifying second. Where I can actually, and in this one I can't. So when we multiply fractions, we times the numerators and times the denominators. So 5 times 3 is going to be 15, and then 8 times 4 is going to be 32. And then you simplify that if you could, but we can't. For the second one, work out. So we can only add or subtract fractions if they're over the same denominator. So we find the lowest common multiple of 3 and 4, which would be 12. So we need to convert them to both being equivalent fractions over 12. To get from here to here, I'm times them by 4. So my numerator would become 8. And then likewise here, to get from here to here, we're times them by 3. So my numerator would become 3. So 8 minus 3 is going to be 5 out of 12. There we go. Okay, question 9. So for this one, Sean works for a company. His normal rate of pay is £12 per hour. When he works more than 8 hours a day, he's paid overtime for the work over 8 hours. The rate of overpay is 1 1/4, and he worked 10 hours on a day. Work out the total amount of money that he earned on that day. When he got 8 hours at his normal rate, so 8 times by 12, and he also got 10 minus 2, just showing it, 10 minus 8. Times by, so that's the overtime hours, times by 1 1/4, times by 2, because not times by 2, we've already done the times by 2. So that's really what we're doing. So 8 times by 12, again, you can use a little bit of column multiplication if you need to. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 1 is 8, plus the other one is 9. So that's going to be 96. Plus 2 lots of 1 1/4. I missed off my times by 12 here actually. 2 lots of 1 1/4 is going to be 2 1/2, and then 2 1/2 times by 12. 96 plus 2 times 12 is 24, and a half of that would be 6. So we're looking at 24 plus 6, which is going to give us 30. So when we add those together, we get £126. Let's just tidy up, put a few equal signs in. There we go. So £126. Okay, question 10. A farmer has 20 boxes of eggs. There are 6 eggs in each box. Write the number of eggs in 2 boxes to the total number of eggs. Right? As a ratio, the number of eggs in 2 boxes to the total number of eggs. Okay, so in effect, I would start my ratio as we've got 2 boxes. And in those boxes there are 6 eggs, and then we've got a total of 20. Times by 6. So we don't really need this times by 6. It's going to be the same as 2 to 20. So that's going to be 1 to 10. So my ratio is going to be 1 to 10 in its simplest form. So a sequence of patterns is made from circles, circular tiles, and square tiles. We're told here are the first 4 patterns. How many square tiles would there be in pattern number 6? So if we look at the square tiles, we're going up in, well, this is pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3. We're looking at square numbers, so 1, 4, 9. So pattern number 6 would be 6 squared, so it would be 36. For part B, how many circular tiles are needed to make pattern 20? If we look at the pattern here, it looks like the 4 times table. So pattern number 20 is going to have 20 times by 4, so it would have 80. Okay, Derek says when the pattern number is odd, an odd number of square tiles is needed to make the pattern. Is Derek correct? You must give a reason for your answer. Is Derek correct? Yes. And if we think about this, square tiles are the square numbers. So an odd number squared, an odd number squared will be an odd times by an odd, which, so I spelled which completely wrong there, which will be odd. So an odd times an odd will always be an odd, so there we go, that's our reason. When the pattern number is odd, an odd number of squared. Yes, there we go. I thought I said no. Question 12. There are only 4 blue pens, 4 green pens and 6 red pens in a box. 1 pen is taken at random from the box. Work out the probability that the pen is blue. So we've got 7 blue pens out of a total of 17 pens. So I think we're looking at 7 out of 17. And that can't be simplified, so 7 out of 17. Okay, diagram shows a man and a tree, so we've got a man here and a tree here. The man is of an average height. The tree and the man are drawn to the same scale. Write down an estimate for the real height in meters of the man. So the average height of a man is, I tend to use 1.8. A standard door frame is 2 meters. Most people tend to be a bit shorter than a door frame. So 1.8 is about the average height of a man. Find an estimate for the height of the tree. So in effect, what we're saying is if this is the height of the tree, and this is the height of the man, how many times could the man's height fit in the tree? So I measure the height of the man as roughly 1 centimetre, and then the height of the tree as roughly 4.5. Yeah, 4.5. So I'm going to do 1.8 times by 4.5. So I'm going to treat it as 45 times by 18. So 8 times 5 is going to be 40. 8 times 4 is going to be 32, 36. 450. So I make it roughly 8. My digit's going to be 810. I've ignored 2 decimal digits, so I need to put them back in. So I'm going to say height of the tree is roughly 8.1. So I will go into a bit more detail for this because it's an estimate question. The mark scheme is saying that you are allowed for the height, okay, anything between 1.5 to 2 is acceptable, and then anything for the height of the tree between 7.5 up to 12 is acceptable. Okay, question 14. Year 9 students from Hale School were asked to choose one language to study. The information table gives information about their choices. So first thing we need to do is work out the number of students that were asked. So 6 plus 4 is 10. 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, so 120. So we've got 120 people where students were asked. So each person is going to be worth 3 degrees. So I need to times these values by 3 for my next part. So 56 times by 3, well, 5 times by 3 is 15, plus 18, so that's going to be 168. I'm going to call this angle size, angle. 40 times by 3 is going to be 120, and then 24 times by 3 is going to be 60, 72. So we can double check that adds up to 360. 8, 15, 16. So that does, so we're fairly confident. Right, to draw this pie chart, I'm gonna use a snipping tool just to help me out a little bit. So hold on a second. Okay, so I want to draw my first angle as being 168. So the way I'm going to do that is that I would place my protractor center of the angle. So this does it slightly differently. So I need to measure 168 degrees. So around to 168. So actually, so I've just redone that. I've just made my protractor the same size as my circle, and I'm going around to 168. So let's try that again. Okay, so then I needed to draw a straight line through the center of my circle now, and the arc that I've just made. You would just put a little arc line at that point. Okay, so actually I was out by a degree, so let's go. So that's my first section. My next section then, I need to measure 120 degrees, so I'll go back to my protractor. Will it stay the same size now? Got to make my protractor bigger again. Okay, and I want to do 120 degrees, so let's change pen color. So again, same process, place my ruler and I draw a straight line through the center of the circle and crossing my line. There we go. And then if I've drawn that accurately, my final angle should be 72. So let's see how close I've drawn that. So change pen color again, we'll go yellow. .72 exactly, so we've drawn that pretty well. Okay, so I want to copy that back. So I've pasted that back in. The only thing I need to do now is to label my sections. So we had French here, Spanish here, and German here. And there we go, that's that question. And part B, Year 9 students were also asked to choose one language to study. This pie chart shows the information about their choices. Is that a different school? It is, yeah, so this is a different school and their language choices. Shamina says the pie chart shows that French was chosen by more Year 9 students at Lowry School than Hull School. Is she right? Explain your answer. So the answer is no. No. It shows a greater proportion. But we don't know any numbers for this second school, Lowry. So the issue with that then is that we're not given any numbers, so we can't compare numbers. All we can do is compare proportion. Pie charts don't compare numbers, they compare proportion. Okay, question 15. Triangle and a rectangle. The area of the rectangle is 6 times the area of the triangle. Work out the width of the rectangle. So if we start by working out the area of the triangle, so the area of the triangle is going to be a half of 8 times by 9, which is going to be 4 times by 9, so 36 centimeters squared. And then if we call the area of the rectangle is, if we call the width x, would be 16x. So you're told that the area of the rectangle is 6 times the area of the triangle. So if I say 6 times by 36 is going to be equal to 16x. Make the maths a little bit simpler here. So what I'm going to do is divide 3 by, no, so to find x, then x is going to be equal to 6 times by 36 divided by 16. And there's nothing wrong with doing that multiplication. You're more than capable, I'm sure. I'm going to tidy it up slightly differently though. So I'm going to say that 16 and 36 both have a 4 in common. 4 goes 4 times into that and 9 times into that. Then I'm going to also tidy up by a factor of 2. So 2 goes twice into 6 and twice into 4. So 3 times by 9 is going to be 27 over 2 is going to be equal to x. So x is going to be 27 over 2, which is 13.5 or 13.5. So x is going to be 13.5. Okay, question 16. So we've got a kinematic formula. Work out the value of v. So we're doing a little bit of substitution here. So we're going to say that v is going to be equal to, instead of u, we've got the value 1. Instead of a, we've got the value of -3. So I'm going to put that in a bracket, times by t, which is half. So that's going to be equal to 1, and then -3 times a half is -3 over 2. And then 1 minus 3 over 2 is just minus a half. So v would be -1/2. Okay, question 17. 5 tins of soup have a total weight of 1,750 grams. 4 tins of soup and 3 packets of soup have a total weight of 1,490. Work out the total weight of 3 tins and 2 packets of soup. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of algebra. So I'm going to say t's and p's. So 5t is equal to 175. 1,750. So t is going to be equal to, if we divide this by 5, then 17 divided by 5 is 3 with 1 left over. With 2 left over, and then 5 divided by 25 is 5. So each tin is 550 grams. So we're going to use that to find out the weight of a packet of soup. Just double reading it. Okay, so that's 4 tins plus 3 packets is equal to 1,490 grams. So if we say that t is 350, then 4 times 350, 350 doubled is going to be 700, and then double again is going to be 1,400. Plus 3 lots of the packets is equal to 1,490. So that leaves 3p is going to be equal to 90. So each packet of soup is going to be 30 grams. So I've got my packet weight and my tin weight. I want the total weight of 3 tins plus 2 packets. So 3 tins is going to be 3 times by 350. What we said earlier, 2 lots is 700. 700 plus 350 would be 1050 plus 60 grams. 2 lots of P, 2 lots of 30 is 60. So we've got a total weight of 1110 grams. Right, does it ask for it in grams? It does. So 1110 grams. Okay, question 18. Balana has a garden in the shape of a circle of radius 10 meters. He's going to cover the garden with grass seed to make a lawn. Grass seed is sold in boxes. Each box of grass seed covers 50 meters squared of the garden. Wants to cover the garden with grass seed. Work out an estimate for the number of boxes. So the area of a circle is equal to pi r squared, which is going to be equal to pi times by 10 squared, which is going to be pi times by 100, which is approximately equal to, let's say, 300. Pi is 3.14, so we'll say 3 to 1 decimal place. So the area is approximately equal to, wavy equal sign, 300 meters squared. So we want to do 300 divided by, and I should really put it here, so 46 is approximately equal to 50. So I'm going to divide that by 50, so that's going to be equal to 6 boxes. So my estimate is going to be 6. Is your estimate part A an underestimate or an overestimate? Well, if we think about what we've done, this is going to be an underestimate. So the area, so I'll do it actually here. So the area is an underestimate. So I've also underestimated here. So this value is a round up. So area is an estimate. Each box coverage is an over. So what we actually got is smaller divided by bigger. So we've done so estimate is, and so what we've got is, if I kind of split this up here, so we've actually gone, this value is smaller, this value is bigger, so our answer is actually going to be smaller. So estimate is an underestimate. Okay, next question. So solve. So we've got 2 options here. We could either times by 4 or we could divide by 4 as our first step. I'm going to times by 4 just because 18 doesn't divide by 4 without leaving a decimal, but that implies that we're going to have a decimal in our final answer. So 4 times x would give me 4x, and then 4 times minus 5 would give me minus 20. My next step then is going to be to add 20 on both sides, so 4x is going to be equal to 38. Final step then is to divide both sides by 4. So divide by 4, divide by 4. So x is going to be equal to 4 goes fully into 38 9 times with 2 left over, which is still divided by 2, so it's going to be 9.5. So 9.5 or 9.5 is fine. Right, so we've got some inequality symbols. Write down all the possible values of t. So in effect, t can't be minus 2 because it's can't be minus 3. It's an integer, so a whole number. So the smallest it could be is minus 2. It could be minus 1. It could be 0. It could be 1. and then it can be equal to 2. So that's all my values. Okay, question 20. Asmal is paid £1,500 per month. He is going to get a 3% increase on the amount he is paid. How much will he be paid after the increase? So non-calculator, so I would do it like this. So 100% of the amount is 1,500. So I would go straight to 1%. 1% is going to be knock 2 zeros off, £15. So 3% would be 3 lots of that, so would be £45. So his new amount is 103%, 100% plus the 3, so that's that plus that, so that plus that. So we're looking at 1545. So 1545. Okay, question 1. The scatter graph shows the maximum temperature and the number of hours of sunshine in 14 British towns on one day. So we've got temperatures and we've got number of hours of sunshine. One of the points is an outlier. Write down the coordinates of this point. So an outlier is one that doesn't match with the pattern of the graph. So that's going to be this point here. So I'm going to circle it first of all. Actually, I'll circle it in blue. And then write down the coordinates of the outlier. So the outlier is at 10, 19. So coordinates are going to be 10, 19. For all the other points, write down the type of correlation. So we've got positive correlation, positive gradient, positive correlation. So positive. And on the same day in another British town, the maximum temperature was 16.4. Estimate the number of hours of sunshine on this day. So for that, I need to draw a line of best fit. To draw a line of best fit, I'm going to insert it as a line and then we will adjust it. So I'll try that again. So I'm going to try and insert a straight line so that roughly matches the graph. So I'm going to just change that colour. We're working in blue at the moment, so we'll go blue. Okay, so I want this line to best match the graph, so I'm going to just move it around a little bit till I think it doesn't need to go through the point 0, 0, but it needs to represent the data well. So I'm going to say, I think, something like that. It represents the data well. So I'm going to go for that's my line of best fit. And then we want to find 16.4. So 16.4, so that's over here. So I go across to the graph. When I hit the graph, I come down and read it. So we're expecting 12.8 hours of sunshine, roughly. And this one's going to have a little bit of a range, so I'm going to look for what the graph is saying, Mark scheme is saying. So they're saying allow anything between 12 to 13. A weatherman says the temperatures are higher on days when there is more sunshine. Does this scatter graph support what the weatherman says? Higher temperatures are higher on days. So maximum temperature. So I would say that the graph shows that the maximum temperature. So I could say, yes, it does support it, or if I wanted to be strictly speaking, it supports that the maximum temperature are higher on days with more sunshine. So I'm actually going to say no. And my reason for no is it shows the maximum temperature. Is higher when there is more sunshine. So that statement, temperatures are higher, would really refer to kind of the average temperature, and we can't really say whether the average temperature is higher on days with more sunshine. All we can say is at the maximum. So I'm going to say no, although I know that the mark scheme will allow yes if you've got a suitable explanation. E.g., the majority of points for higher temperature appears when there are more hours of sunshine. So again, it doesn't really state maximum. That's a big thing for me. But they're saying yes, e.g. the graph supports this. I would argue the graph doesn't necessarily support it because we're plotting maximum temperature, and this doesn't refer to maximum. If anything, it refers to average. So I could see an argument for either answer there, and I'm assuming that you would be allowed either answer provided your explanation was good enough. Okay, question 22, express 56 as a product of its prime factors. So this is a non-calculator, so we're going to have to factor tree. I always pull off my lowest prime number as my first factors. So that's going to be 2 times by 28, which is 2 times by 14, which is 2 times by 7. And then if I'm expressing it as a product of its prime factors, it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 7, which I'm going to write as 2 to the power 3 times by 7. And index form or not, both would be absolutely fine. Okay, question 23, work out 54.6 times by 4.3. So I've referred to this already, I think earlier in the paper. If I'm ever having to do decimal multiplication, I will ignore the decimal. So I'm actually just trying to do this calculation correctly. So 3 times by 6 would be 18, 3 times by 4 would be 12, plus the other one would be 13, 3 times by 5 is 15, plus the other one is 16. Then if I put 0 in my units column, I can times by 4, so 4 times by 6 is 24. 4 times by 4 is 16, plus the 2 is 18. And then 4 times by 5 is 20, plus the 1 is 21. If I add those two numbers together then, 8 plus 0 is 8, 3 plus 4 is 7, 6 plus 8 is 14, 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So my digits will be, so I'll do it up here, my digits for this will be 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. And then if I look at my question, I've got 2 decimal digits in my question, so I'm going to have 2 decimal digits in my answer, so my decimal point would go there. So I'm looking at 234.78. So 234.78. Okay, for this, the area of the square ABCD is 10 centimeters squared. Show that. So if I look at this, so these 4 parts, 3 times by 3 would be 9. I'm going to treat this like a multiplication grid. 3 times by x would be 3x. X times by 3 would be 3x. And then x times by x would be x squared. So the area of that shape, actually I will do, so I'm going to add these 4 bits together, so that will be x squared plus 3x, I'll write it fully out, plus 3x plus 9, and that's going to be equal to the area, which is 10. So I'm going to rearrange that then, x squared plus 6x, and then take the 1 over to the other side, is going to be equal to 1. And that's what we were asked to show. So arguably that's very short, but I've included this grid as part of my working. So question 25, this rectangular frame is made from 5 pieces of straight metal. The weight of the metal is 1.5 kilograms per meter. Work out the total weight of the metal frame. So the first thing I'm going to do is work out the length of the diagonal. So x squared using Pythagoras is going to be equal to 12 squared plus 5 squared, which is going to be equal to 12 squared is 144, 5 squared is 25. So that's going to give me 169. Square root of 169, so square root both sides. So x is going to be equal to 13. So the total length of all the rods is going to be 2 lots of 12 plus 5. That's all the way around the outside, plus 13. So that's going to be 2 times by 17 plus 13. which would be 2.17 is 34 plus 13. So the total perimeter, I'll put P there actually, stand for perimeter. So the perimeter is going to be 47 meters. And then if each meter is a weight of 1.5, so I want to do 47 times by 1.5. And a bit like before, I'm going to do 47 times by 15. So 5 times 5 is 35. 5 times by 4 is going to be 20, plus the 3, 23. 4, 7. So add those two numbers together. So 5, 0. So 2 plus 4 plus 1 is 7. So my digits will be 705. I've got one decimal to include, so 70.5 kilograms. Okay, question 26. The equation of line L1 is y is equal to 3x minus 2. The equation of line L2 is 3y minus 9x plus 5 is equal to 0. Show that these two lines are parallel. So for L1, for line 1, the gradient is equal to 3 because it's already in that form. So the gradient is equal to 3. For line 2, we need to rearrange it. So we're starting with 3y minus 9x plus 5 is equal to 0. So if I rearrange this to get 3y by itself to start with, so I'm going to say 3y is going to be equal to 9x minus 5. Divide both sides by 3, y is going to be equal to 3x minus 5 over 3. So the gradient of line 2 is 3 as well. So both have the same gradient. Same gradient. And I don't really need to mention it, but they're not the same lines because they've both got different y values and different intersects. Y intercept. So are parallel. One too many R's. Okay, question 27. So we're given, this is our vector question, A, B, C, D is a parallelogram, the diagonals of the parallelogram intersect at O. O to A is A, O to B is B. Find in terms of B the vector D to B. So I want to go from D to B, so that's just going to be, this length here would also be B, so we're looking at just 2B. Find in terms of A and B the vector A to B, so I want to go from here to here, so I'm going to go this route, so I'm going to go minus A plus B. And B minus A would also be fine. If anyone's particularly interested, the overlining, whenever vectors are written in typeface, it's written as bold. If you do it handwritten, the line over the letter indicates that it's a vector, not just a letter, but it's not, doesn't need to be done by any means. A to D, so if I want to go from A to D, I'm going to go this route, so I'm going to go minus A minus B, so minus A minus B. Okay, that brings us to the end of the paper, all 80 marks. So hopefully you found that useful. Before I sign off, I'm just going to bring up the skills map. So if this is also linked in the chapters, but those are the 27 topics that were covered on those 27 papers. So if you particularly struggled with one of the aspects, you know where you need to target your revision. So for example, if you struggle most on question 40, that was on pie charts, so you might want to do some independent revision on pie charts, or if you have a tutor, some work with your tutor on pie charts. So hopefully you found that useful. Feel free to ask any comments or questions or queries into the chat for this video, and I'll get back to you fairly quickly. I'm fairly good with that at the moment anyway. So please subscribe if you like. That's MDDM Maths. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck, and I will see you soon.